Suddenly, the alarm clock blared, shattering the stillness of the early morning. Lin Jichin jolted awake from his deep sleep, groggily reaching out to silence the annoying sound. His hand slammed down on the clock, and the room fell silent once more. "My head," Lin Jichin groaned, clutching his pounding temples. The unpleasant stench of alcohol and stale vomit filled the air, clinging to him like a bad memory. As he forced his eyes open, the room around him felt disorientingly both familiar and strange. Where was he? His mind struggled to process the surroundings. The dingy room resembled his old college dorm, a place he hadn't thought about in years. But hadn't he been injured, fatally, no less, by the illuminating dragon, a terrifying beast from the immortalization realm? He clearly remembered the moment he succumbed to his wounds, his life slipping away after all treatments had failed. How was he still alive? Panic surged through him as he frantically searched for his belongings. His storage ring, his elixir field, everything was gone. For 10 agonizing minutes, Lin Jichin stumbled around the room, desperately trying to make sense of his situation. Finally, the truth hit him like a thunderbolt. He had been reborn. Lin Jichin was back 10 years in the past. He was 19 again, a college freshman who had just finished his entrance exams. His body buzzed with the energy and vitality of youth. The reason for his rebirth eluded him at first, but then a memory resurfaced, as vivid as the day it happened. It had to be the jade pendant, the one he had taken from the cave of the illuminating dragon. The pendant had vanished as soon as he touched it, only to reappear in the final seconds of his life, glowing with a blinding light. That light had carried him back through time, to a point where everything had gone wrong. Before the game, Tale of Immortal merged with reality, there had been rumors about the illuminating dragon, a fearsome exotic beast in the immortalization realm. The dragon was said to guard a supreme god artifact, the double fish pendant, capable of comprehending the laws of heaven. No one had ever obtained it, but Lin Jichin had stumbled upon it by sheer accident after being framed and left for dead in the dragon's lair. And now, the legendary artifact had granted him a second chance at life. A fierce determination ignited within Lin Jichin. Heaven had spared him for a reason. Su Zihui and Guojia, the treacherous pair who had betrayed him in his previous life, would pay dearly for their actions. This time, he would make them taste the bitterness of betrayal and the despair that came with it. Lin Jichin quickly dressed and stepped into the bathroom, his mind racing. He had loved Guojia for 10 years, only to be stabbed in the back by her and his most trusted friend, Su Zihui. They had conspired against him, swindling him out of all his wealth, immortal pills, and magic treasures. In the end, they had even lured him into the abyss of the illuminating dragon, a death trap from which he had barely escaped, only to die shortly after from his injuries. As Lin Jichin stared into the dormitory mirror, his reflection revealed eyes cold with resolve. The memories of his past life flooded back, each one a reminder of the tragedy and despair that had shaped him. He had been foolish, stubborn, and too confident in his own judgment, ignoring those who truly cared for him. But not this time. This time, he would correct his mistakes. Heaven had given him a do-over, returning him to the year 2040. He would make the most of it. Suddenly, his phone rang, snapping him out of his thoughts. The caller ID displayed, Miss Frenzy. A smile tugged at Lin Jichin's lips as he answered the call. "Hey, Miss Frenzy. Long time no see," he said casually. On the other end of the line, a youthful female voice responded, full of energy. Renlan, known as Miss Frenzy, was nearly 1.8 meters tall and always dressed in sportswear. Her natural, unpretentious looks exuded a distinct Eastern charm. "Long time no see, my ass. Why did you take so long to answer my call? Brace yourself, I've got big news." Renlan's voice crackled with excitement. In his past life, Lin Jichin carried the weight of unspoken apologies to 2 people, and Renlan was one of them. Exactly 10 years ago, Renlan had called him with urgent news. She had seen Guojia, Lin Jichin's girlfriend, kissing another man on the street before getting into his car. Lin Jichin, deeply in love with Guojia, refused to believe a word of it. He lashed out at Renlan, accusing her of lying. Their argument escalated into a heated fight, and after that day, Renlan, once his closest friend, never reached out to him again. Their friendship shattered, and Lin Jichin, blinded by his love for Guojia, never saw Renlan again. As Lin Jichin listened to her voice now, it was like a ghost from his past had resurfaced. How long had it been since he'd last heard this voice? 10 long years. Yet it still felt so familiar, so comforting. For a moment, he didn't even focus on what she was saying, simply savoring the sound of her voice. I'm sorry, Miss Frenzy, Lin Jichin suddenly whispered, his voice heavy with regret. Huh? Sorry for what? Renlan's confusion was evident, her tone puzzled. Nothing, just felt like saying it, Lin Jichin chuckled, trying to brush off the sudden surge of emotion. Hey, I don't have time for jokes. Brace yourself, I just saw Guojie kissing a guy on the street, and she got into his sports car. Renlan's voice was earnest, laced with urgency. Oh, got it. Lin Jichin responded casually, his tone surprisingly indifferent. Just oh? Come on. I'm not messing with you, it's true. Renlan's frantic voice echoed through the phone, worried that Lin Jichin didn't believe her. I believe you, Lin Jichin said with a light chuckle. But right now, I have something more important to tell you. Renlan was baffled by his calmness. Buddy, let's stay calm. Don't do anything rash, okay? You've got me all confused. She couldn't understand how Lin Jichin, who once adored Guojie so naively, could remain so composed after hearing such shocking news. Ignoring Renlan's words, Lin Jichin shifted the conversation. Have you heard of the Game 8 Wastelands? Renlan hesitated for a moment before replying, Yeah, I've heard of it. The advertisements are everywhere. Lin Jichin's gaze drifted to the window, imagining the world beyond. I'm planning to enter the game as a professional player, he declared. There was a fire in his voice, a determination that hadn't been there before. He was ready to reclaim everything that was his. As his mind drifted back to his past life, the memories came rushing in. On August 8, 2040, a day that would change the course of history, a virtual online game with a realism rate of 100% was released. Named Tale of Immortal, it was created by the universe-level artificial intelligence Manhwa, drawing on the rich cultural backgrounds of many countries to craft an epic-making virtual world. Initially, everyone thought it was just a game. But 5 years after its launch, strange things began to happen. Players started discovering that abilities, magic treasures, and even NPCs from the game could manifest in the real world. Once this revelation became public, people flocked to Tale of Immortal, seeking to gain powers, cultivation levels, and treasures beyond imagination. But with these wonders came unimaginable horrors. Demons, villains, and massive beast tides from the game began descending upon reality, and the worlds within the game began to merge with the real world. It was this game that had made Lin Jichin a practitioner of the Enlightenment realm, giving him everything and then taking it all away. But now, everything was starting from scratch. He had another chance. Back in the present, Renlan's shocked voice broke through his thoughts. No way, for real? You, becoming a professional esports player? Wasn't it said that the game was independently designed by the universal AI Manhwa? She paused, remembering something. But you were always good at gaming. If you can really make a name for yourself in 8 Wastelands, your future will be limitless. Renlan couldn't believe her ears when Lin Jichin told her he wanted to become a professional gamer. Lin Jichin, placing a hand under his chin as if pondering something profound, said, I'm serious. This game has a lot of potential. I suggest you put some of your energy into it too. Forget about the old games. They're just a waste of time. I'm planning to move out of the dorm in the next few days and rent a place where I can fully immerse myself in it. On the other end of the line, Renlan's shocked voice rang out, Wow, I've known you for so long, and today is the day I think you're the most badass. Well, since you're all right, I'm going to hang up now. But as she was about to end the call, Lin Jichin's expression turned pale, and sweat began to pour down his forehead. Quickly grabbing the phone, he shouted, Wait, don't hang up yet. Renlan paused, her curiosity piqued. Is there something you want to tell me? Lin Jichin hesitated, placing a hand behind his head, his face blushing with embarrassment. He was too ashamed to admit it, but finally, he said, the game requires some equipment, and there was an unexpected issue. I checked my account history, and, well, my wallet was overdrawn yesterday. Can you lend me some money? On the other side of the call, Renlan, who was exercising at the gym, felt a wave of fury wash over her. Her expression changed, and she tightened her grip on the phone. Who asked you to live beyond your means? She shouted. You gave Guojie such an expensive birthday gift yesterday. You reap what you sow. With that, she said goodbye and abruptly hung up, leaving the gym members around her staring in confusion. As the call ended, Lin Jichin placed the phone aside and sighed deeply. Yesterday's birthday celebration for Guojie had drained all his savings. The more he thought about it, the more frustrated he became. He muttered to himself, why couldn't I have been reborn a day earlier? I could have saved my money. Just then, his phone buzzed with a new message. Lin Jichin picked it up and saw that Renlan had transferred him 10,000 yuan through WeChat. Along with the cash transfer, Renlan had also sent a voice message. Curious, Lin Jichen clicked on it, and Renlan's furious voice boomed through the speaker. This is several years' worth of my gym membership fees. Remember to pay me back early. If I can't go to the gym because of you, I'll use you as a sandbag for my workouts. Smiling, Lin Jichen brought the phone to his mouth and sent a voice message back. Don't worry, I'll pay you back on time. With the money secured, Lin Jichen wasted no time. After talking with Renlan, he immediately left the school to search for a place to live. He was determined to fully commit to this new path. After taking a bath, he checked the time. The moment he had been waiting for was almost here. As the next day dawned, Tale of Immortal went live globally. At that moment, countless players donned their rings and dived into the world of Tale of Immortal. Lin Jichen was no exception. Lying on his bed, he put on the ring, completed the iris scan to bind it, and then felt his entire being pulled into the virtual world. He found himself surrounded by a sea of stars, enveloped in celestial mist. Lin Jichen stood within a grand, ancient palace, his heart pounding with a mix of nostalgia and excitement. 10 years later, he was back where the dream had begun. Floating in the air before him was a celestial woman with a jade-like complexion and a serene, saintly aura. Her beauty was unparalleled, and she was clad in a glimmering, glass-like dress that made her resemble the 9 heavens maiden. She was captivating, so much so that even Lin Jichen, who had seen her a decade ago, couldn't help but take a few extra glances. But despite her ethereal beauty, Lin Jichen had no intention of flirting with her. This woman was no ordinary NPC. She was extraordinary, a guide on the path of immortality and the mastermind behind Tale of Immortal, Manhwa. In the world of Tale of Immortal, those who dared to speak carelessly to Manhwa rarely met a good end. Many players, lured by her ethereal beauty and graceful figure, disrespected her without realizing the consequences. Some tried to flirt with her, others begged to ride her coattails, and a few were audacious enough to harbor darker intentions. The results were never favorable. Those who made inappropriate advances found themselves locked in a dark cell for a few minutes if their words weren't too filthy. Those who crossed the line with vulgar and lewd comments faced harsher punishment, extended confinement, and a permanent reduction in their charm upon logging into the game. But the worst offenders, those who attempted to molest Manhwa, were met with a 7-day confinement, a permanent charm reduction, and upon their release, found that all NPC affection levels turned negative. These players couldn't accept quests, and their attributes were halved for an entire week. In his past life, Lin Jichen had fallen into this trap, though not out of lechery. He believed that Manhwa held hidden quests or rewards, so he relentlessly pestered her, inquiring about these secrets countless times. Eventually, Manhwa grew tired of his persistence and confined him for a few minutes. It was a lesson he wouldn't soon forget. Now, reborn with the knowledge of his past life, Lin Jichen certainly wouldn't repeat such foolishness. As he stood before Manhwa, he quickly bowed his head, waiting for her to speak. Manhwa's calm eyes met his, and when she finally spoke, her voice was like the music of the heavens. Mortal, you appear to be decent. Do you truly wish to embark on the path of cultivation and become an immortal? Yes, Lin Jichen replied calmly, raising his head. My name is Lin Jichen. May I request Lady Manhwa to grant me your blessings? Manhwa raised her hand gracefully, pointing a slender finger toward Lin Jichen. Golden energy began to gather at her fingertip, and with a serene smile, she spoke. Since you've decided to step onto the path of immortality, I shall bestow upon you an opportunity. What you make of it is entirely up to you. Lin Jichen's heart raced. The moment of truth had arrived. The starting talent was about to be revealed. His eyelids twitched with anticipation, though his face remained calm. If this experience mirrored his past life, he would receive a mediocre innate talent called Business Prodigy. Its effect was simple, a 10% reduction in spirit stones spent at all town shops. In other words, it was just a money-saving feature with no other use. Such a talent was best suited for a game merchant, but Lin Jichen had no interest in that, and yet, he had to carry this mediocre talent on his journey of cultivation. Fine, Business Prodigy it is, Lin Jichen thought, consoling himself. Innate talent isn't everything. With my knowledge of Tale of Immortal, even with a lousy start, I can still turn the tides. The stream of rosy light shot out from Manhwa's finger and entered Lin Jichen's body, assessing his constitution. For some reason, what should have been a quick check took much longer this time. The light lingered inside Lin Jichen for half a minute, swirling and probing deeper than he expected. A flicker of confusion crossed Lin Jichen's mind. This was different from what he remembered. The assessment should have been brief, almost instantaneous. Yet, the golden light continued to flow within him, as if searching for something deeper, something hidden within his very essence. Just as Lin Jichen began to feel puzzled, a game notification sounded. He opened his eyes instantly, eager to check his status. The system voice spoke clearly, "Congratulations on obtaining the innate talent, Defying Fate." Lin Jichen was stunned. Defying Fate? Where was the expected business prodigy? His mind raced. Was this change due to his rebirth? Or could it be the mysterious jade pendant he carried? Quickly, he checked the talent description. Defying Fate. Born against the heavens, defying the natural order, blessed with extraordinary destiny. These 12 words alone told Lin Jichen this was no ordinary talent. In his 10 years playing Tale of Immortal, he had never heard of anyone receiving such a powerful talent. He eagerly read on to uncover its effects. The talent had 3 remarkable effects. Born against the heavens. Those born against the heavens, like a phoenix reborn from ashes. All innate attributes are at their maximum, but with each death, all innate attributes decrease by 10%. Defying the natural order. Those who defy the natural order are envied by the heavens. With each major breakthrough, all attribute bonuses are doubled, but a heavenly tribulation is guaranteed, and failure means the soul is scattered. Extraordinary destiny. Those with an extraordinary destiny are always accompanied by opportunities. With each major breakthrough, an additional random talent is awarded, and each time a major realm is broken through. Heavenly level condition must be completed. Lin Jichen stared at the description in silence for a few seconds, then a grin spread across his face. This wasn't just any talent, this was invincible. Though the talent came with both great benefits and severe risks, Lin Jichen knew these dangers were nothing compared to the potential rewards. After all, great opportunities always came with great risks. If he didn't have the courage to face these challenges, his rebirth would be pointless. Manhwa's voice broke through his thoughts, serene yet commanding. The talent has been bestowed upon you. Now, you must choose your appearance. With a wave of her hand, a projection screen materialized, displaying Lin Jichen's current image alongside a variety of hairstyles to choose from. This was similar to character customization in other online games. But Tale of Immortal had one significant difference. You couldn't change your face. The only customization allowed was choosing a hairstyle fitting for the world of immortals. In his past life, Lin Jichen had seen many non-mainstream players running around with bright red or green hair. Back then, he had foolishly chosen an explosive hairstyle reminiscent of Storm Riders, thinking it would set him apart. It had, but not in the way he intended. The wild hairstyle significantly lowered his already high charm, making interactions with NPCs, especially those of the opposite sex, much more difficult. This time, Lin Jichen wouldn't make the same mistake. He selected a half-loose hairstyle with a regal hair crown, a style that suited his face and gave him an elegant, suave appearance. As he confirmed his choice, his virtual body began to transform. His hair grew long and white, cascading down his back, and his features sharpened into a handsome visage. Dressed in flowing white robes, Lin Jichen looked every bit the part of a noble immortal. Once the transformation was complete, a scroll appeared in Manhwa's hands. She spoke again, her voice carrying the weight of destiny. Now you can choose the location you wish to be born. The scroll unfurled on its own, revealing a map before Lin Jichen. The map was divided into 4 sections, each marked with a name: Yongning Province, Yuehua Province, Muxian Province, and Huafeng Province. These were the starting points from which players could choose. While the map of Tale of Immortal was vast, these 4 provinces were just the beginning. The rest of the map shrouded in mystery and danger, requiring high cultivation levels to explore. Though the provinces seemed similar at first glance, Lin Jichen, with the knowledge of his past life, knew that each province held secrets and opportunities tailored to specific cultivation paths. Yongning Province, for instance, was ideal for magic cultivators, hiding powerful magic treasures, supernatural powers, and rare immortal pills. Yuehua Province catered to medical cultivators, while Muxian Province was perfect for artifact cultivation. Huafeng Province, on the other hand, was best suited for those who walked the path of physical cultivation. But Lin Jichen knew that these categorizations weren't absolute. Any profession could thrive in any province, but those who chose wisely could unlock hidden opportunities unique to each location. Lin Jichen knew that the first step in his journey was choosing the right profession. However, he didn't rush into a decision. Instead, he opened his attribute panel, allowing a virtual window to display his status. His name, Lin Jichin, was prominently displayed alongside his innate talent, defying fate. Other sections were still empty, awaiting sect affiliation, profession, reputation, and cultivation progress. His cultivation level was currently marked as mortal, a starting point that belied the immense potential he now held. His gaze swept over the attributes. His innate core bone, which determined the potential for both chi and body cultivators, was maxed out. His innate spirit, crucial for spell and healing cultivators, was also at its peak. Comprehension, essential for mastering rare and powerful skills, was similarly maxed. The appearance he'd chosen granted him transcendent charm, and his innate luck was through the roof, thanks to his exceptional talent. Lin Jichin absorbed the information with a racing mind. With a status panel like this, Lin Jichin was practically invincible from the start. His fighting spirit surged. Who could compete with such an advantage? But he calmed his excitement, knowing that making the right choice now was critical. His maxed-out attributes meant he could excel in any profession he chose. In his previous life, Lin Jichin had been a spell cultivator, mastering the art of spellcasting with unmatched proficiency. Logically, it made sense to continue down that path. It was familiar territory, where he could quickly become the world's top spell cultivator. With his knowledge, no one could surpass him. But Lin Jichin also knew the downsides of being a spell cultivator. Though they dealt massive damage in the later stages, their training was resource-intensive and challenging. Moreover, his original choice had been influenced by Guojie, not his own desires. In truth, Lin Jichin had always admired the freedom and power of weapon cultivators, particularly the sword cultivators. He envied their ability to control swords, soar through the skies, and dominate the martial world with unmatched skill. After carefully weighing the pros and cons, Lin Jichin made his decision. He would abandon the path of spell cultivation and embrace the way of the sword cultivator. With newfound resolve, he touched the map and selected Muxian Province, the ideal starting point for those pursuing weapon-based cultivation. As soon as he made his choice, the map before him began to disintegrate. Lin Jichin's body transformed into a streak of light, vanishing from the heavenly palace. Choosing to become a sword cultivator was no random decision. Lin Jichin knew that sword cultivators boasted the highest single-target damage in the game. Whether in player duels or soloing powerful bosses, they were the ideal choice. If Lin Jichin wanted to claim the title of the world's strongest, he needed a profession that could handle the inevitable struggles, confrontations, and sneak attacks that would come his way. A golden light descended upon a small village nestled within a mountain valley. As the light faded, Lin Jichin materialized in the center of the village, dressed in coarse linen clothes and standing barehanded. He glanced around, taking in the quaint beauty of the village, which was quickly filling with new players, all equally awestruck by the game's realism. "Bro, this game is insane. It's like I've been transported to another world," one player exclaimed, while another marveled at the picturesque scenery. "Damn, what a big mountain," he said, trying and failing to express his awe. Meanwhile, gaming newbies called out for help, and self-proclaimed romantics like Love's Cold Funeral were already on the prowl for in-game relationships. The chaotic buzz of the village brought a wave of nostalgia to Lin Jichin. It was just like he remembered, crowds of eager players flocking to the obvious NPC at the village entrance, an elderly man in his 60s. Anyone with even a bit of online gaming experience knew this old man had a quest to offer, and the players swarmed around him, jostling for a chance to be the first to accept it. But Lin Jichin didn't bother with the crowd. He knew that the most valuable quests were hidden and couldn't be obtained by conventional means. With a smile tugging at the corner of his lips, he bypassed the village chief and walked deeper into the village, ignoring the chaos at the entrance. Inside the village, it was just as crowded. Many players had the same idea as Lin Jichin, hoping to find luck with other NPCs. Every villager, man, woman, and child, was besieged by players desperate for a mission. Lin Jichin's presence, however, caused a noticeable stir among the players. What caught everyone off guard was the reaction of the female NPCs. Even the young woman at the tailor shop, who had been busy giving out missions, stopped dead in her tracks the moment she saw Lin Jichin. Her demeanor changed instantly, as if she had spotted a long-lost lover. She abandoned her previous task, much to the dismay of the players still waiting for their turn, and with a sultry sway of her hips, made her way towards Lin Jichin. The tailor, who introduced herself as Chuan Yang, approached him with a seductive smile. "Hello, young man. My name is Chuan Yang, and I run the tailor shop here. Would you like to take on a mission? I can arrange something special for you," she added, her voice dripping with insinuation. "If you find the mission too difficult, Sister here can help you with it." As she spoke, she moved closer, wrapping her arms around Lin Jichin and whispering in his ear. "My husband passed away 5 years ago, and I've been single ever since. So, what do you say? Do you want to accept a quest from me?" The surrounding players were stunned, their jaws practically hitting the ground. While they were struggling to even get the NPC's attention, here was Lin Jichin, being offered a mission, along with some not-so-subtle extras, on a silver platter. The disbelief was palpable. Lin Jichin glanced at Chuan Yang, his eyes glinting with amusement. Inside, he was smirking. This was the power of his maxed-out charisma, but even he hadn't expected it to work so well on NPCs. Seeing the baffled expressions of everyone around, the widow flashed a smile, one reserved solely for Lin Jichin. "So, little brother, what do you say?" Lin Jichin hadn't expected that maxing out his charm would yield such benefits. If he wanted, he could probably cultivate an affection level with this charming widow. In a few days, who knows, maybe even. Lin Jichin wasn't that kind of guy. Responding to the widow's enthusiasm, he smiled politely. "Maybe next time. I've got other things to handle right now. I'll come to you for a quest later." The widow, though slightly disappointed, maintained her smile as Lin Jichin walked away. "Don't forget to come back for that mission," she called after him. Lin Jichin waved casually, continuing deeper into the village. After a while, Lin Jichin's eyes narrowed as he spotted a weapon shop at the village's edge. From his past life, he knew the real opportunity in this beginner village lay here. As he approached the shop, several players exited, advising him not to waste his time. "It's just a blacksmith inside," one said. "We tried talking to him, but he's not interested. Might even be deaf." Lin Jichin nodded, thanking them. "Just browsing," he replied before entering the shop. Inside, a muscular man with a coiled beard stood by the forge, hammering away at an unfinished weapon. His technique seemed wild, and the clang of metal echoed through the shop. Several players were trying to interact with him, but the blacksmith ignored them, completely focused on his work. One player, frustrated, shouted, "Is this guy deaf? Let's not waste time here. The widow at the tailor shop is giving out quests. Let's head there." As the players left, the blacksmith wiped sweat from his brow and muttered, "Why isn't today's weapon taking shape?" Lin Jichin didn't say a word. He simply walked over, sat by the forge, and began working the bellows. The flames roared to life, and the temperature soared. The blacksmith's eyes brightened. Yes, that's it. The fire was too small. He continued hammering, while Lin Jichin kept the bellows going. After a few intense minutes, the blacksmith plunged the finished weapon into a water bucket, cooling it with a hiss. He raised the sword, smiling with relief. Finally, it took shape. Only then did Lin Jichin stop. The blacksmith turned to him, laughing heartily. "Thanks for helping with the bellows. My apprentice is out today, so the fire wasn't strong enough." The shop owner then said to Lin Jichin, "Since you helped me, I should repay you." He pointed to the weapon rack behind him. "Pick any weapon you like. You can borrow it for a day, but you must return it after." An ordinary player might have cursed at the idea. "What? After all that, you're only lending me a weapon for a day?" But Lin Jichin simply nodded. "Thank you. I'll take a sword." He walked over to the weapon rack, his eyes scanning the swords. After a quick moment, he selected an ordinary iron sword, which could boost the wielder's strength by 3. The shop owner nodded. "All right, you can take it. But listen, if you bring me 10 pairs of green bamboo viper fangs within a day, I'll give you an opportunity." "No problem." Lin Jichin smiled, knowing this was the start of his path as a sword cultivator. With the quest accepted, he left the shop. Outside, some players were lingering, still clueless about how to get their hands on a weapon. Their jaws dropped when they saw Lin Jichin step out, sword in hand. "Damn, how did that guy get a weapon?" one player exclaimed. "We're out here using fists, sticks, and throwing rocks, and he's got a sword," another grumbled. One of them rushed up to Lin Jichin. "Hey buddy, how'd you get the sword? Spill it. Don't think you can just walk away without telling us. I hate it when people hoard all the good stuff." Lin Jichin, unfazed, pointed back inside. "Simple. Go find that muscular guy, sing him a sad love song, and pour your heart into it. He just broke up with his girlfriend, so you've got to hit those emotional notes." "Really? That's all?" Some were skeptical, but a few believed him and dashed into the shop, ready to serenade the blacksmith. Inside, the scene quickly turned chaotic. Players surrounded the blacksmith, belting out off-key love songs that sounded more like screeching cats and squealing pigs. The other players outside were puzzled. What the heck was going on in there? Lin Jichin, watching the spectacle, smirked and quietly slipped away. Meanwhile, the blacksmith looked utterly bewildered, as if his ears were under attack. "You get out," he growled. The players glanced at each other in confusion, but before they could react, the blacksmith raised his hammer and roared at them to leave. In no time, every one of them was booted out of the shop. The onlookers outside burst into laughter, mocking the unfortunate players. Lin Jichen strolled leisurely out of the village. The territory of the green bamboo vipers was in a bamboo forest to the southeast. It took him less than 2 minutes to reach it. Ahead, a dense bamboo forest loomed, with a warning sign at the entrance. "Enter Snake Forest with caution." Lin Jichen stepped into the bamboo forest. It was serene, with only the rustling of leaves in the wind. But a closer look revealed green snakes coiled on branches, shadows slithering along the ground. Spotting a green bamboo snake coiled on a branch, Lin Jichen noticed how its deep green body almost disappeared against the bamboo. The snake, sensing an intruder, hissed and raised its head, preparing to strike. Lin Jichen quickly glanced at its attribute panel, a wild monster with vitality over 120, strength at 2, and agility at 1. The snake, enraged, lunged at him with deadly intent. But Lin Jichen was no novice. He sidestepped to the right, dodging the attack with ease. Seizing the moment, Lin Jichen gripped his sword and thrust it towards the snake's head, aiming for the vital spot. The blade cut deep, tearing through scales and drawing blood. The snake fell, writhing on the ground, dead in seconds. "Not bad for a new profession," Lin Jichen muttered, inspecting the iron sword. Switching from a spellcaster to a weapon master was a big shift, but with years of experience in Tale of Immortal, he was already leagues ahead of any other player. As the snake died, a wisp of blue light floated up, entering Lin Jichen's body, boosting his cultivation by 3. Cultivation in the game was like experience. Once full, he could break through to the next realm, increasing his attributes. With his first monster kill after rebirth, Lin Jichen was in a good mood. The snake's body turned into a soul burial mound, which Lin Jichen searched. He found a pair of venomous fangs, standard loot, but then, unexpectedly, he also discovered a green viper bow, a viper sword, and a snake skin storage bag that could hold up to 20 items. In Tale of Immortal, the drop rate for equipment was notoriously low, especially from weaker monsters. Yet here he was, pulling valuable items from an ordinary snake. Lin Jichen quickly realized why. His innate full-valued luck, labeled as the lucky one, was already paying off. Lin Jichen pocketed the items and continued his hunt. The second green bamboo snake was dealt with just as swiftly, and his swordsmanship grew sharper with each encounter. He moved through the bamboo forest like a breeze, cutting down snake after snake with increasing speed. Before long, Lin Jichen had slain all 10 green bamboo snakes without breaking a sweat. Aside from the green viper bow and storage bag, the other snakes dropped over 100 poison arrows and several copper coins. Copper coins were the currency of mortals in Tale of Immortal, while cultivators dealt in spirit stones. He stuffed the items into his pouch, slung it over his shoulder, and wiped the sweat from his brow. With his loot secured, Lin Jichen set off back to the village, ready to return to the blacksmith and see what opportunity awaited him. Lin Jichen wasted no time returning to the village and heading straight to the weapon shop. He placed the storage bag with the venomous fangs on the table, then turned to the blacksmith with a confident smile. "Brother, here are the 10 venomous fangs you requested." The shop owner looked at Lin Jichen in shock, quickly snatching the pouch and inspecting the fangs. After a moment, he nodded in appreciation. "These fangs are top-notch. You've done well, brother." He reached under the counter and pulled out a letter, handing it to Lin Jichen. "Here, this is the opportunity one promised." Lin Jichen's eyes lit up as he took the letter. This was exactly what he had been aiming for. He eagerly opened it to reveal the content, a sect recruitment letter, the key to advancing his journey in the game. The type of sect letter depended on the weapon he chose earlier. If he had chosen a saber, it would have led him to the saber sect. "Am I the only one who's received this letter so far?" Lin Jichen asked. The shop owner nodded. "You're the first." Lin Jichen tucked the letter safely inside his clothes, a grin spreading across his face. While others were still running around, completing mundane tasks from tailors, village chiefs, butchers, even cats and dogs, Lin Jichen had already unlocked the key to his next adventure. Most players would be stuck in the village for days, but not him. He was destined for greater things. With the letter in hand, Lin Jichen prepared to leave the village, but he had one last thing to do first. He made his way to the busiest part of the village and began shouting, "Step right up! Tearful fire sale. Want to get stronger? Need equipment? The server's first green bamboo snake bow up for auction. Highest bidder wins. In a game that had just started, equipment was scarce, and most players were reluctant to part with what little they had. So when Lin Jichin began shouting, a crowd quickly gathered around, curious to see the bow's attributes. He generously displayed the green bamboo snake bow's stats, along with the effects of the poison arrows. The crowd gasped. This was some serious firepower. "Brother, name your price," one player shouted. "No price, bid as you like," Lin Jichin replied. The bidding war started instantly. Prices skyrocketed from 500 to 1,000 in seconds, the excitement in the air drawing even more players. Suddenly, a hand shot up, 50,000. The crowd fell silent, stunned by the sudden leap. All eyes turned to the bidder, a group of female players, each more stunning than the last. The leader, a short-haired woman with elegant eyebrows, phoenix eyes, and an air of grace, stepped forward. "I'll pay in cash, immediate transfer." Lin Jichin's eyes gleamed. The offer was too good to pass up. But just as he was about to seal the deal, another voice cut through the crowd. "I'll offer 60,000. The voice belonged to a man in black and brown robes, leading another group. The voice belonged to a young man with a hooked nose, probably in his 20s, and a somewhat feminine appearance. He stepped forward, placing a hand over his chest. "Let me introduce myself. I'm Wang Jinghao, president of Eternal Guild." The crowd gasped. They hadn't expected the president of Eternal Guild to join the bidding war. Lin Jichin recognized Wang Jinghao all too well. After Lin Jichin made it to the top 10 of the heavenly rankings, Eternal Guild had tried to recruit him, only for Lin Jichin to reject them outright. Since then, Wang Jinghao had harbored a grudge, leading to several underhanded attacks on Lin Jichin. Lin Jichin greeted him with a forced smile.
"I'm Lin Yihen."
Wang Jinghao beamed. "Brother Lin, I see you're selling this equipment to make some extra coin. How about this? I'll cover all your wedding expenses if you hand over the bow to me. Consider it a gesture of friendship." Lin Jichin maintained his smile, though it was clearly strained. "There's no need for that. A gentleman doesn't accept charity. I'm just looking to sell the equipment, and I hope Brother Wang can respect that." Wang Jinghao, unfazed, leaned closer with a grin. "Understood. I admire principles. This bow is just what my guild needs, so I'll be generous." His tone suggested the bow was already his. The short-haired woman, initially worried Lin Jichin might give Wang Jinghao an advantage, was reassured by Lin Jichin's response. She bid confidently, 70,000. Wang Jinghao shot back instantly, 100,000. 200,000, the short-haired woman retorted, showing she was serious about winning. Wang Jinghao's face twitched. It wasn't about the money. He was intrigued by her persistence. 250,000. The short-haired woman, unfazed, told Lin Jichin, "Can you give me 2 minutes? I need to consult with my boss." Lin Jichin nodded, and she logged off immediately. Her subordinates waited as the crowd buzzed with curiosity. Less than 2 minutes later, she was back. 500,000. The crowd erupted in disbelief. Wang Jinghao's expression hardened as he stared at the woman. "Are you sure you want to oppose me?" The crowd was equally shocked. One onlooker whispered, 500,000 for beginner equipment? Is she out of her mind? Another replied, "You can't understand the rich. She must have some serious backing to challenge even the young master of Eternal Guild." The short-haired woman gave Wang Jinghao a cool glance. "The highest bidder wins. We're all free to make our offers. Just because you want it doesn't mean no one else can." Wang Jinghao was left speechless, the battle for the bow intensifying. "Very well." Wang Jinghao's words were icy as he turned to leave. To him, 500,000 was pocket change, but he didn't want to be seen as a fool by spending that much on beginner's equipment. He suspected the bidding might continue escalating if he stayed. "Brother Wang, wait a moment," Lin Jichin called out with a look of feigned sincerity. Wang Jinghao turned, and Lin Jichin said, "Since we're friends, I'll sell you the bow for 500,000. Wang Jinghao's face lit up with a triumphant grin. He walked over and said, "Thanks, Brother Lin. If you ever need help, the Eternal Guild will be there for you." As Wang Jinghao made the payment, Lin Jichin couldn't help but smile. He wanted to leave a good impression on Wang Jinghao to potentially benefit from him in the future. Wang Jinghao, feeling smug, looked at the short-haired woman and sneered, "Lady, since you're so beautiful, I won't hold a grudge. Just hope you've learned a lesson here." With that, he sauntered off, leaving the woman fuming. Lin Jichin watched Wang Jinghao's retreating figure, smirking inwardly. He knew Wang Jinghao would soon realize the bow was hardly worth the price. After the poison arrows were used up, It would be useless. Once the crowd dispersed, the short-haired woman glared at Lin Jichin. How can you go back on your word? Didn't we agree the highest bidder wins? You're just a pawn for Eternal Guild. Go be their lapdog. Fuming, she stormed off with her guild members. Lin Jichin watched her leave and decided he'd need to make amends later. Out of sight, Lin Jichin followed the direction the group had gone. In the wild boar forest just outside the village, he spotted the short-haired woman and her subordinates grinding monsters. As Lin Jichin approached, they noticed him immediately. What are you doing here? The short-haired woman's eyes were full of suspicion and annoyance. Lin Jichin didn't flinch. Can we talk alone? It'll only take 2 minutes.